My ex doesn't want our son to do daycare with my mom anymore and wants me to pay for professional daycare so my family doesn't have undue influence on him, but I'm refusing because she can't help pay for it. Posted by u/dukale3735. I have a almost 3-year-old son with my ex. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Almost a year ago, I filed for divorce from my ex. We have split custody, 50-50. As child support, I pay $900 per month plus 100% of all healthcare and education-related costs for our son. My ex was at home with our son until he was about 10 months old. At that time, she wanted to go to grad school, so we had planned to put our son in daycare. My mom, whom my siblings and I had been supporting, asked if she could watch our son rather than putting him in daycare. My ex was giddy at the idea, but I was a little hesitant because I wanted my mom to enjoy her retirement. But my mom and my ex very much wanted to do it, so I relented. Plus, my son absolutely loves every moment he gets to spend with his Mimi. My mom has continued to be the primary caretaker of our son when my ex and I are working. My ex, whom I mostly co-parent with, wants our son to go to daycare. But my ex cannot afford daycare at all, so she wants me to pay for it. I refuse. Our son still absolutely loves going to his Mimi's house. My siblings have kids that our mom looks after, and so my son gets a lot of time with his cousins. My mom still loves doing it. Plus, she was an educator and is bilingual and is doing an amazing job in that department as well. I check in with her to make sure she still wants to do it because I do not want her to be overwhelmed. Plus, the daycare here would cost about $250 to $300 per week. So, I refuse. My ex says this setup makes my family have undue influence over our son's development. If that was a concern, she has never expressed that until now. Plus, why would our son being under the influence of strangers at daycare be better? This has been a point of contention for about the last month. Am I a jerk? Commenter. There was a similar setup with my in-laws and the cousins when my kids were little, and I insisted they go to a professional, licensed, fully staffed daycare. I would not be comfortable with my toddler being cared for by one elderly woman who is also caring for several other children full-time. There could also be other factors that the mother has concerns about. For example, perhaps the kid is not well supervised, the grandmother is a religious fanatic, she spanks the kids, etc. Perhaps they badmouth the motherly openly. Perhaps the cousins are violent or bad influences. There are many situations where licensed childcare is better than the free family alternative. My ex insisted that we utilize my mom for childcare. Throughout our marriage, she continued to insist we use my mom for childcare. From 10 months old until he was 25 months, my mom was our childcare and my ex expressed nothing but gratitude and appreciation for it. I was the only one who had expressed any type of trepidation about it at any time. When I filed for divorce and my ex was trying to get me to reconsider, for us to go to counseling, etc., she never expressed any issues with my mom being childcare. She continued to express to me and to my mom how appreciative she was for my mom providing childcare for our son. It is only after the divorce was finalized a few months back that she first expressed any type of concern. And the only concern expressed to me is undue influence. And the only basis I have been given for that concern is the amount of time our son spends with my mom. Nevertheless, she still continues to utilize my mom for childcare. In fact, she uses my mom for childcare more than I do. Update. 3 months later. My ex and I got divorced earlier this year. When we were married, we bought her grandmother's house. This house was built in the 1910s and had been in my ex's family since then. It is quite large. It was de facto the house where my ex's family would stay when they came into town for anything. This continued into our purchase of the house and was a part of my decision to divorce her. When we bought it, we primarily used my pre-Marshall savings and inheritance. That was 5-ish years ago. When we got divorced, the court determined that the bulk of the house, 90%, belonged to me in accordance with our post-nup agreement. My ex tried a number of scenarios where she would keep the house, or it would go into a trust for our kid, so it would stay in the family. The only thing I would agree to is selling the house, her buying me out, or me buying her out. We went with the latter because my ex did not have the money to buy me out. The day after Christmas, my ex's grandmother died. She had been sick for years and the reason we bought the house is because she could no longer live on her own and desperately needed money for end-of-life care. Anyway, yesterday afternoon, my ex's cousin shows up at the house with his family. He drove into town for the funeral on Thursday. Apparently, he and his sister texted my ex and said that they would be staying at the house, inside her family term for my house, and she indicated she was okay with that. I called my ex and asked her why she volunteered my house for hosting people. She apologized and said she had been running around getting things done for the funeral. But, she asked if I would be willing to host because they really do not have space for people without using the house. I told her no and that they need to get hotels or whatever else arrangements. She said they do not have money to get everyone hotels and people are struggling financially. That there is plenty of extra room in the house. They could just be in the finished basement with their own bathroom, kitchen, entry, and exit. I told her no. She got quite upset and hung up on me. I told the cousin and his family that they cannot stay. Am I a jerk? Edit. 1. People seem to be assuming the house was discounted to us when we bought it. It was not. It had been on the market for a year and the price had been decreased multiple times with no offers for the listed price at any point. We bought it for the initial price it was listed for, which was the appraisal price. 2. My personal preference was that my ex buy me out of the house. She did not have the money to do so. My next preference was to sell the house. My ex begged me to keep the house. So, I agreed to do so. 3. The trust idea she had would mean putting the house in a trust with a life estate to me and the remainder to my son. This would effectively prohibit me from selling the house. I have no intentions of selling now, but I refuse to put myself in a position where I cannot sell in the future if I decide I need to do so. But, I do have a trust for my son now, 3 years old, where he will inherit my assets at the time I die. Update 2. 3 weeks later. A number of people have asked for an update. Not much has happened until a few days ago. On Saturday, one of my ex's cousins, not the one who showed up at my door, we will call him, Dave, texted me. As you probably guessed from my original post, I do not have the best relationship with my ex's family. This was true while we were together. However, I did have a good rapport with this particular cousin. Apparently, my ex and a number of the other family members had been talking bad about me in the family group chat. Dave reached out to get my side of things, but understood if I did not want to talk. I called him and relayed much of what I said in my original post and comments to him. What I learned from my conversation with Dave is, my ex told her family, after the divorce, that she still co-owned the house with me. That I do not abide by the court's order regarding expenses for our son and that she cannot afford a lawyer to fight me on it. I set the record straight for him on both accounts. I own 100% of the house and bought her out of her 10% share. I also pay 100% of the medical costs and child care/education costs for our son as ordered by the court. I also pay more than the court-ordered amount for child support. We talked a little bit more to catch up and I thought nothing of it. Apparently Dave decided to share the details of our conversation in the family group chat. On Monday, I got an angry long text from my ex about what Dave said in the group chat and that she wanted to talk. We talked yesterday. She expressed how frustrated she is with everything. That she was, and still is, willing to do whatever it takes to make our relationship work. She said if I am not willing to try and make it work, the least I could do is work with her so she can pay me off over time for the house, put the house in a trust for our son so it stays in the family, and not badmouth her to her family. I reiterated that there are no circumstances under which I would want to be with her. The least of which is that she is actively lying about me and our divorce to her family. I also restated that I will not let her pay me off for the house because it will take her decades to even pay me back for how much money I have put into the house even if there was no interest. I will not put it in a trust because the type of trust she wants is specifically designed to prevent me from selling the house in the future if I need to do so. I also stated that I did not ask Dave to share any of our conversation and everything I said to him was 100% factual. I told her moving forward, I am doing no more than what I am legally obligated to do for her. I will only pay the child support amount that is legally required and not a cent more. I will put the extra I was paying towards the money I was already setting aside for our son. If she wants to buy the house, she can at fair market value. But, I will sell the house if, or when, I feel it is appropriate for myself and our son regardless of what her or her family want. If, or when, I sell it I will get the highest price possible regardless of whether that person is part of my ex's family. And if her family keep being a problem about the house, it will probably be sooner rather than later. She left mad, but that is where things stand. Commenter. Wow, I can't believe she signed a postnuptial that only gave her 10%. Was it time/condition based? Did you both have separate lawyers look it over? How long were you married? So many questions. Did she work? Did all her family take Dave's version over hers? OP, she put up none of her own money to pay for the house. Yes, we had separate lawyers. Not time or condition based. We were married almost 6 years. She worked part-time and went to school, which I paid for. I have no idea what version the family believed.